Hello everybody, welcome back to the stream. Oops, let me check something. Microphone was a little bit too hot there, but we're back. We are back. Anyway, yeah, so we're going to be continuing on with the map changes and related changes today. So remember, I'm kind of overhauling how the map works. And because of that overhaul, certain things went away. For example, like the Inquisition strength concept completely went away. So I've been having to rework some things. And one of those things is the cloak. So I've reworked the cloak and made the cloak basically allow you to backtrack because there's no backtracking in the map anymore, and there's no notoriety penalty for visiting nodes. So the cloak needed a new piece of functionality, I guess you could say. So you can now backtrack with the cloak, and but there's kind of going on a tangent, but there's a bunch of other stuff like that needs to be addressed because of the changes to the game. So yeah, we're just going to be doing largely that today. Anyway, before we get into all of the details, I want to remind everyone that Alchemortis is available for wishlisting on Steam. So it's a dark fantasy roguelite auto battler where you could use alchemy to create your own builds and synergies. If that sounds good to you, definitely give it a wish list. I would appreciate that. You can also join the Patreon if you want to support the project financially. If you subscribe at this top tier for at least 1 month, I'm going to send you an Alchemortis Steam key when the game launches, so it's like a pre-purchase of the game, and your name will be listed in the in-game Alchemortis credits. So if those things sound good to you, definitely consider doing that. That helps out a lot. But you could also help me out by purchasing one of my Udemy courses. These teach you how to build complete games in the Godot engine, and this also helps me out a ton. But you can, you can help in other ways by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, joining the Twitch, following on Twitch, and joining the Discord. So all of those things are linked below. Very much appreciate the support. And let's get into it. Hello, the Malicious Rabbit. Welcome. Good morning to you. Hello, David. David Danger. Are you still using C# for game dev? I am, yes. I am. Welcome to the stream. Bruno, welcome. Good to see you. What's my name? My name's Firebelly. It's right there in the YouTube channel. All right. So let's see. I'll restart these extensions. Hello, Tez Fraser. Welcome, welcome. Any reason C# versus GDScript? The main reason is personal preference. I think C# makes it easier to build more sophisticated systems with your code, just because of the tools that you have available to you, like interfaces, abstract classes, all that kind of good stuff. So, but it's personal preference, really. So I redid the cloak. So the cloak here now, so the cloak used to be that you would get no notoriety penalty for visiting cleared nodes. So this was in the old free roam version of the map. And so it was designed as a way to basically remove the penalty for navigating to nodes that you've already visited. Sorry, I had to kick the cat out. He was being annoying. So but there's no more backtracking anymore. So again, the map is now more directed like Slay the Spire. But it does have some differences still compared to Slay the Spire's navigation. The main one being the Fog of War, which still limits how far ahead you can see. So at best, you can like plan 3 moves ahead, basically. So the idea behind the Fog of War is as things are constantly revealed, I want that to cause the player to have to reevaluate or make interesting decisions about which nodes they're visiting. I don't think the Slay the Spire method of like presenting the full pathways to the player ahead of time are necessarily going to work for this game. So anyway, you can only move in one direction, which is generally upward, and that is indicated by these like little path lines here. So I can move up to a node. I could do whatever enchant if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. And so now, oops, I could go back, and that's because I have the cloak artifact. So that allowed me to go back to that start node because I had the cloak artifact, but now I shouldn't be able to do it. And so the way that this cloak works is that it will gain a charge after 5 combat victories. So I just used my charge moving back to that start node, and now I can no longer do that. So I have to win, I have to complete 5 new combat victories to get another movement charge there. So if I look at this, so I can see that I have 0 charges, but I need 4 more victories. So that's the idea, and yeah, I can't go back until I have one of those charges, and if I never find a cloak, I basically won't be able to go back ever, but except for, you know, adding new functionality to the game that allows that. So yeah, that's what we've got going on. So there is one other artifact which needs to be redone, which is the sundial. So the sundial currently, or the sundial previously, I should say, increases the strength, the Inquisition strength threshold by 15. So there's no Inquisition strength anymore, so this is completely useless. And so we need to come up with a different set of behaviors for the sundial. Hello, Granger Babe Gaming. Welcome. Good to see you again. Welcome back. Hello, Emerson. Good morning to you. Snup Bill, thank you for the IDR 10,000. That's always appreciated. Thank you, thank you. And we have the message yummers. We love the message yummers. Thank you again, Snup Bill. Wet Balls. Wet Balls says, what's the benefit of going back? The benefit of going back is that because it's a directed graph, so I mean, I could even just use the start as an example, but because it's a directed graph, once I move forward, a bunch of pathways are going to be closed off to me, right? So if I'm not allowed to go back, I can never get this enchant node right here. Like, this is just permanently out of my reach because I've committed to going down this way, and I can only move upward, right? And so if I continue going down this path, I can't get this one, I can't get that one, I can't get either of these, right? Because I've sort of pruned those paths for myself by making this decision. But if I'm allowed to go back by 1 or more moves, what I can do is I can hop up one path, grab something that I want, and then go down a completely different path, and make use of the nodes that I was going to previously miss, right? So that's the benefit of going back. It's like you can use it strategically when you have it to optimize your power, basically. Hello, Nano. Welcome back. Limited way to return to the last intersection would be cool. Imagine visiting a shop on a branch and then going backwards via item or artifact, continue battle. Yeah, exactly. That's what, so the cloak, that's what the cloak is now, Wooius. The cloak will allow you, under certain conditions, based on the charges that it has, to go back like 1 or more nodes. And this stacks too, by the way. So I can have multiple cloaks. Oops, add artifact, cloak. I can have multiple cloaks, and those will maintain their charges and their combat victories needed independently. And so I could have multiple charges because I have multiple cloaks. So yeah. Anyway, that's how the cloak works. I actually made an interesting change to the artifact system to support this. So basically what I can do now is there was a bug with this, which is that I only want to consume 1 charge across all cloaks when I move backwards, right? And so I had to come up with a system to handle that. And basically I have this is handled flag now. This artifact context object gets passed into all of these overridable methods in the base artifact class. So we see artifact context. And now what I could do is I can, for any artifact context, set this is handled flag to true. And what that's going to do in my artifact manager is what it will do is in this handle artifacts function, which is just sort of like a wrapper for all the individual artifact handlers here. It will check if the handle ID set contains that artifact, and it will just skip that artifact execution. And then if the handled ID set does not contain the artifact ID, it will check for that is handled flag and add it. So it's pretty cool. So that just gives me a way of handling behaviors across multiple copies of the same artifact. I joined it exactly after you started talking about the new cloak. Yeah. Good morning. Does the cloak start with a charge I didn't see? Yes, the cloak starts with one charge. And that's, you know, that's subject to change, obviously. But I think right now what we need to do is figure out what to do with this sundial. So the sundial, like I said, is completely useless. So we need to figure that out. So what can the sundial do? I was thinking it could do something with blind. It's time for game dev once again. Hello, Jackie Daytona. Welcome back. I was thinking it could do something with blind, or let me see. I wrote something in the Discord. I forgot already. Where did I put that? I don't remember where I put that in the Discord. Oh well. Wait, is it in the feedback channel? No. Alright, I don't even know where I'm putting my own text into my own Discord server. That's alright. I think something with blind. Every 12 nodes you visit gives you a huge buff, free shop items, massive combat buff, enchant 2 items, upgrade 2 tiers. Could it do something time related, maybe stopping time for the enemy at the start of battle? So the player has a few turns on their own. Oh, that? That is an interesting idea. I'm going to do a little bit of a twist on that because like the stopping time mechanic in this game is paralysis, which is just a pause, right? And I already have an artifact that paralyzes an enemy card on start. But what I could do feasibly is make the broken sundial on combat start, put a random turn cooldown penalty on a random enemy card, right? So it could be something pretty significant too, like a 10 turn cooldown penalty. Yeah, I like that. Increases the turn cooldown of one random enemy item by 10 when combat starts. That'll work. I think that'll work. Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you, Wooius, for the suggestion. You probably answered this many times before, but what's your take on using Copilot and Visual Studio Code to manage a project? I don't know what you mean by manage a project. I'm a big fan of Copilot for doing the rote work. Like I'm a pretty big fan of the AI tab autocomplete because a lot of times it's just putting in code that I was going to write myself. And as far as like using the, the Claude Code or whatever, I've been using that pretty regularly to do a lot of planning, but also to do like the kind of, like I said, rote refactors that are necessary, the things that I already know how to do but would just take like an hour to do, or even something that's like really straightforward and boring that would take only like 10 minutes of my own time to do. It's much more fun to just have the AI go and do all that rote work for me. So I use it a lot for planning. I use it a lot for doing, like I said, rote refactors. And yeah, so I'm a big fan of those kinds of tools. They are a huge help in terms of getting things done a lot faster. I'm still very wary of using it to design entire systems though, because then I lose sight of like how my game is working, and I can't have that, right? I need to understand how all my systems are working. So even if I use Claude to help plan or refactor, I will often either put my own tweaks on it or implement it by hand so that I have that systems understanding. But yeah, that's how I'm using the tools anyway. Makes another tally on a wall for ideas that made it into the game. Yeah, your wall's gonna be ruined, Wuius. How do you find game ideas? That is a good question. I don't know. Alchemortis was basically like, I played the Bazaar and I saw that auto battlers were popular, and I was like, hey, it'd be kind of fun to make my own auto battler game. And I've always liked the dark fantasy, necromancy kind of theme, so it was an auto battler with a necromancy theme, you know? I think that's going to be my shtick. If Alchemortis is successful, I think I'm just going to be the game developer that makes the necromancer games, you know? Just like every game is going to have some kind of theme like that. Do you think course sites like Zenva or Codecademy are worth it, considering that for coding there's loads and loads of free resources like W3 Schools or MDN, even YouTubers like yourself? Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Zenva courses are very high quality, unfortunately. I think that you can find much higher quality Godot tutorials, for instance, on YouTube. Like, somebody that comes to mind is Heartbeast. Like, the free tutorials that Heartbeast does are like leagues better than whatever you'll find on like paid on Zenva. I think that there are a bunch of good like Udemy courses, including my own, not to toot my own horn, but there are certainly like, you don't have to pay for a course to get the proper knowledge. I mean, I didn't buy a course, right? I learned Godot just by looking at the resources that were available and reading the documentation and everything. But you know, the paid courses are there, especially if somebody particularly likes an instructor's teaching style, or the course is covering something that's like very, very specific to what the student wants to learn. I think that's where paid courses can serve a role. But if you're just trying to get a handle on like just generally how to do programming or learn Godot or whatever, the free resources on YouTube are perfectly fine and may even be the best approach in that case. It's good to know. I wasn't too sure about it before. Yeah, part of me is like, you know, I do want to get more familiar with like these AI coding assistants because, you know, I was a software engineer before I started doing this full time, and I may become a software engineer again depending on how Alchemortis does. And all of these companies, the companies that are hiring software engineers, which is like, you know, that market is not very good right now. They're going to want people who are proficient with using the AI coding tools, because that's basically what everyone's using now. So part of the reason why I'm starting to get into the AI coding assistants more is I just want to be familiar with them. I want to build up that skill set, if you could call it that, in case I need to find another job after this project. But anyway, let's do the sundial here. Alrighty. We could just copy this. Copy, paste. I think this is an issue. Basilisk Eye bypasses ability execution system, meaning paralysis applied by it won't be tracked. So that's, I'll just leave this in the backlog. This is something that may need to be fixed. Okay. Let's do var composed. Actually, ability builder dot self. I don't have a self turn cooldown. Oh, it's a non-combat composed ability. I actually don't know if that's gonna work. Let's move this to the ability builder though. Do I want to do that? I think we can do that safely. Public static composed ability, self turn cooldown modification, int magnitude. Oh, my cat is slamming cabinets in the kitchen now. We don't need this. I think that's okay. Okay, so the sundial. Actually, you know what? I think that was just wasted effort. Because I'm not going to want this to scale at all. Well, I could keep that there in case I want to use it somewhere else, but the unfortunate thing is I actually need to define this. New non-combat composed ability. I need to define this differently. So the scaling function needs to be empty. Okay, that's probably fine. Now the question is, how do I get this? Let's put this up here. All right, so now the question is, how do I get this onto the card? Oh, this might be a little bit tricky here. Top level composed abilities. Let me see. Hands. Hmm. I honestly actually don't think that this is going to be... I don't think this is going to work. Actually, I might have to change this. My day job, we are expected to use some AI tool daily. Yeah. How many wish lists are we on now? It's cool if you want to keep it a surprise. I think there's like close to 3,000 or a little bit over 3,000. I don't check that number very often, but there is a marketing plan in the works. So once that plan is in place, I will probably be checking on that a lot more. But yeah, AI scares me. If I want to get into this field, easily covers everything a junior dev can do. So I'm feeling doubtful it'll be easy to get a job as a junior, but then how do you get job experience? Yeah, I think it's probably rough for juniors, yeah. Portfolio is everything more than already where it was. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's true, but if you could just vibe code your portfolio, then maybe the opposite is true. Maybe the portfolios don't become very useful at all. Thought companies hire for the value provided versus what tools you use. Yeah, I mean, they want people who are proficient with the tools, right? It's not an either or, it's a both and, right? If you have a really good theoretical understanding of programming, but you don't know how to use an IDE, I don't know why that would be more attractive to an employer than somebody who maybe has a less sophisticated understanding but is really proficient with the tool. Junior engineers have to continue to exist even if there are harder jobs to get. What happens when seniors retire? Who's left? Are the penny pinchers going to care though? That's a problem for the future, and corporates are famously short-sighted. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily call the software engineering world penny pinchers. I mean, if they have capital available to them, they'll just go and hire like 1,000 people with like 6-figure salaries. It's, you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Hello, Chic.io. Welcome. Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. I think they'll come to realize it. I do think comp sci degree will shift a bit, maybe less traditional software engineers. Well, here's the thing. I don't think computer science degrees were ever that useful for software engineering jobs specifically. Like, I didn't work with very many people when I was working full-time who had a computer science degree. Because computer science, again, it goes back to that. It's like, it's too theoretical, right? You don't learn how to build a modern front-end app with a computer science degree, right? You learn how to like analyze sorting algorithms. It's like, it's two totally different things, right? Not saying it can't be helpful, but like knowing the big O notation of every single algorithm on Earth doesn't help you to design a reactive and accessible front-end UI. You know what I mean? What do you think about front-end dev as freelancing career nowadays? I don't know anything about freelancing. I'm sorry. I tried to have my own like freelance business many years ago, and that didn't go anywhere. So I'm not the person to ask about freelancing. Computer science student here. He's right. Huge mistake people make is thinking the degree is the only thing you need. Having actual projects and hackathons is way more impressive. Everyone has the same to-do list app and comp sci modules. Yeah. Yeah, that was like kind of always the baffling thing to me when I went to college is like, of course the professors were knowledgeable and they knew their material, but they had no idea what modern software development looked like. Like none of the tools that we used, aside from like, version control or whatever, none of the tools we used, none of the frameworks we used were anything close to what the private industry is using to make their software. And so it's like, I mean, I didn't go for like a software, engineering degree. I don't even know what that degree would be, but yeah, it's just, you get into the workforce and you see all these tools and frameworks that people are using and, it's just like, wow, I didn't get exposed to any of this in college. You heard it here first, college is for suckers. You said it, not me. I definitely agree. I just meant when I was in school, we were all more or less trying to be full stacks, whereas now maybe not. Gotcha. To be a good engineer, you need curiosity and initiative. Only doing the things your professor says to you displays a lack of those two skills. Yeah, I think that's true to a certain extent. It could be useful if you go there and build connections. Yeah, it could be. Could be. I'm not sure how to implement this actually. So the problem is every artifact that I have that places an ability on a card or on an item, it always happens in this sort of get base composed abilities step. But now I'm trying to add an ability onto an item when combat starts. And so I think I almost need like a different... Let me take a look. Wonder if there's a different... Maybe I should think about this life cycle a little bit differently. I'm wondering if there's a more clever workaround for this. So maybe there's a more clever workaround. Instead of doing it on combat start, which is going to be a little bit tricky, maybe I'll do it when the enemy board is first created. And then I need to... The thing is, if I wanted to target one random enemy card, If I wanted to target one random enemy card, I'm gonna need to... probably need to store the random state. Store the RNG state and then only advance. So we create an RNG object, we store the seed, but we only advance the state when combat actually ends. So do we have like a combat end here? Maybe on combat victory. Okay. Let me try something else. Get base composed ability, get base composed abilities. Get base composed abilities. Okay, I think this might work, but it's going to be a little bit of a workaround, but the thing with adding abilities to cards is that there's a bunch of state that needs to be updated in response, and I currently don't have a way of triggering those state updates when combat starts. Let me just verify that. On combat started, where is this called? So it's called in the turn manager. Emit signal encounter began. I think this is probably the cleanest way to do it for now, because otherwise I'm going to need to support a whole additional sort of like pipeline of combat starts, and then I do another reach out, another iteration over the artifacts, find all the abilities that should only be added on combat start. Then I need to rebuild the ability tree, and rebuilding the ability tree, I mean, this is going to have to update all the non-combat modifiers and stuff. Actually, is that even working? Oh, it may not work regardless of what I do. All right, let's just try something very basic to start, and we'll see how that functions. Okay, so var... base card, okay. Stop it. Okay. Let's just do this to start. Var random is equal to new random number generator, seed. Oh, did I do the wrong one? Random number generator, seed. We'll just set it to 0. Turn empty. If base card is not equal to random card, return. So this is where it's going to be a problem. So this get base composed abilities runs for every card on the enemy board. And so this random needs to basically be consistent every time, which is why I'm setting this random seed to 0 every time. So it should functionally retrieve the same card from the list. But then what I can do is I can return self-turn cooldown dot duplicate. I have no idea if that's going to work, but let's see. Project settings. Test player artifacts. Let's do sundial. All right, let's see what happens. Hello, Ninja Link. Welcome back. Good to see you. Which one of your courses uses GDScript instead of C#? All of the courses except for the C# explicit one use GDScript. Hello, Junie. Welcome back. We doing the sundial. What it decided what it's going to do. It's just going to add a 10 turn cooldown increase to a random enemy card. Random enemy item, I should say. So hopefully that works. Hello, comp sci student. I'm not a comp sci student, but I want to learn programming. Where do I start, please? You could just look anywhere on the internet, really. You know, you could just go on YouTube and search for Python course or whatever. Programming for beginners. Plenty of resources available. Yeah. That's true too. Simple scripting languages like Lua. Okay, so that's working. Is this going to be the way to do it? The other thing that I'm not sure about is I need to get this whole life cycle under control here. Base card. Yeah, I think this is probably okay. I may end up so one easy way to do this would be to just detect when combat starts. Wait, that's not going to work either. Yeah, I think this is probably the way to do it. It's kind of messy, but we'll see what happens. So now there's a question of just getting this random in place here. Random seed and random state. So what we'll do on creation is we'll say random seed is equal to mathutil.rng.rand unsigned long. This actually doesn't need to be super sophisticated. I'll just store a seed here. And then let's do public override void on combat victory. We will say random seed is equal to mathutil RNG rand unsigned long on combat victory. We're going to need to store that state probably in the save file, but seed is equal to random seed. So we're going to create a new random number generator every time and use that to select the card. Actually, what we could do yeah, I don't know if there's a better way to do that. I think that's probably what we'll have to do. So we get the random seed, and then we're going to need to do public override iPersistent, public override. How do I do this? Yeah, public override iPersistent state. Persistent state is equal to new persistent state ulong, and then get set there. Okay, and then on combat victory, we're setting the random seed to something else. Okay, let's see what happens. Strictly game dev, maybe some simulation. I don't really want to make money from it. There's just so many creative stuff you can do with it. Yeah. Start with the systems, learn the coding basics. What's a conditional declaring variables? Yeah. I think that's good advice. Good to pick an engine since that will determine what language you use. Yeah, that can work too. Avoid Unreal Engine since it's very beginner unfriendly. All right, let's see what happens. So that description prefix is not being preserved for some reason. Okay. So I'm a little bit uneasy about this approach, but I don't see a better way to make this work. Sundial, increase turn cooldown by 10. Awesome. So that is working. Now what I want to try is if I die... Oh, I didn't die. Okay. Very cool. Let's see if it works on subsequent things as well. There we go. Sundial, torch. Okay, perfect. I still didn't die. I'm gonna have to fix that, I guess. I actually have a couple of things written down from my playtest yesterday. So we'll figure that out. Alrighty. Sundial, increase turn cooldown by 10. Okay, so I died right there. What I want to see is that if I resurrect, it should still be on the same one, yeah. So I kind of wish that there was a way that I could just randomize it on combat start, but I really don't think that's going to be... I really don't think that's going to work unless... Yeah, I mean, the only way to do that would be to... I would basically have to know inside of this get base composed abilities if combat has started before I do that. So I think this approach is probably fine. Maybe I'll fix that later if I have another ability, another similar artifact that I want to do, but... I think this is working. Let me just test... I'm going to test the save file now just to make sure that this works. So let's delete the save file. Project settings. Turn off ignore save file. Hello, Eto. Welcome back. Good to see you. So what I'm trying to look for is that the sundial will affect the same enemy item regardless of whether you're loading the save or not. So that's affecting the chicken. So if I close the game and I go back in, sundial is still affecting the chicken, and I can look at my alchemortis.json and I can look for sundial, and we can see that the persistent state, so the seed is saved in the save file now, which is super cool. Like basically anytime that I need anything to save some data, I could just use this persistent state object here, and this persistent state is a generic class which takes any type. And it just does, it has getters and setters, so I can get the internal state of whatever I'm trying to save and set the internal state of whatever I'm trying to load. And then this persistent state object has serialized and deserialized methods to actually put that into the JSON. So what ends up happening is when I go to save the game, I iterate over all of the artifacts. For example, I check if the persistent state object is not null. And if the persistent state object is not null, then I just put a random JSON object onto that persistent state key. So here, this persistent state. So this persistent state value can be any valid JSON object. It can be a number, it can be a string, it can be another object with key value pairs. So that makes it pretty easy to just save persistent state. And yeah, I think that's good. Now I probably do want to verify that this number is actually changing if I go through this combat. So let's see. How do you handle multiple scene like game scene menu and map scene? They're just separate scenes in Godot. And I do have my own like scene manager, which can replace those nodes when appropriate. But yeah, they're just standalone scenes that get loaded up, and there's some data that can be transferred along with the scene change, that's the entire reason why I wrote my own like scene manager, is so that I can pass along state to any scenes that I'm instantiating. All right, so I believe that number changed, so that's good. All right, so let's change that description now. I think that'll be fine. Increase turn cooldown of one random enemy item by 10 during combat encounters. That should be fine. Okay, so the sundial has been reworked now. I think that's probably good. I do want to do something. So there's a minor change I want to make to how I'm doing persistent state, just to make it more extensible in the future. Okay. Okay, all right. So sundial rework. Patrol flags I still haven't figured out what to do with, but we do need to check the tutorial, and I think I need to add a few tutorial things as well. So we're probably going to do that. Add distinct region borders. I think these map updates were for the free realm version, but we're almost done with all the things that I need to do for this new map overhaul. There is a couple of things. So fix boss battle scaling. Bosses are not currently scaling. I do need to, well, this is kind of actually beside the point. Rework honey reagent. There are no more negative abilities, so for the alchemy system, so I need to rework that honey reagent. Increase necrosis threshold. These are things that I'm going to be doing separately. And a backlog. Scroll wheel does not work for item descriptions in shop. Bug. Okay. Just writing these all down from my handwritten notes so I don't forget them. And then I'm just going to do this. Update wench description. Okay. So the next big thing to figure out here is we got to figure out if the tutorial is still working on the new map approach, and also the bosses are not scaling properly, so we're going to need to do that. Are you hiding the nodes behind the boss in the fog of war until it has been defeated? I can do that. I don't really see a reason to do that. Because you can't go to those nodes anyway until you defeat the boss. So that could be something that we consider. Cool. All right. I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, I don't know. I'm still a little bit wary of this. I need to come up with a different approach for making sure that all of my ability states are up to date, I think. Because ideally what I would like to be able to do is just like put an ability on a card whenever and have that trigger some updates. The problem is like when I add an ability to a card, that potentially means, that the entire... So I have abilities in the game that will scale based off of like if another ability is present on the board, right? So, you know, do extra poison damage if the card next to you has poison damage. And so that's pretty straightforward when those are just baked into the item abilities to start. But where it gets tricky is like what happens if a poison ability gets added to a card by an artifact, right? And that's conditional. I need to know when that happens and then update any cards that scale off of that. That's a little bit simplified version of the problem, but anyway. But I guess this will work for now. I think the main problem is just the non-combat abilities, because the non-combat abilities are not updated during the normal combat life cycle. So whenever a non-combat ability gets added or removed from a card, that needs to trigger updates across the entire board. So those are almost like, so any combat ability is automatically reevaluated during combat. So there's actually not really a possibility of stale data there. The stale data comes with like adding and removing non-combat abilities, which should trigger updates to the board state when they get added and removed. And so doing something like adding this non-combat ability when combat starts needs to trigger all the updates. So that's why I kind of like took a hacky approach, which is just when this is called naturally here, this get base composed abilities, just keep the random seed and just like predictably and deterministically grab the same random card every time. It's kind of messy, but I don't know a better way to do that. You know what I noticed? YouTube devlogs often get game visuals out early and then make systems logic, but you look up tutorials for making elsewhere and the advice is to keep graphics for last. Yeah. I mean, I've never really been a fan of that advice anyway. Keep graphics for last. It's like a video game is an audio-visual project, creative work, right? And it's like you're basically saying do the technical stuff first and leave the other 2/3 of what makes a game alone. And it's like that doesn't make any sense to me, right? It's like games are audio-visual. It's like the visuals and the audio are just as important. Maybe not just as important. Maybe that's too strong of a word, but they're of critical importance to the entire project in the same way that the code is, right? And so I never really understood this advice, like, no, just do the technical side of it first. Like, no, that's not what a game is, right? A game is not just a technical piece of software. It's an artistic piece of software. And so, like, if you want to make a game feel like a game, you have to put some of the effort into the art. You know what I mean? So anyway, that's my opinion, though. Anyway, I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break, and when I come back, we will take a look at some of these remaining issues and get those all fixed up. And then if that goes well, we can do a play test and just talk about the map changes and see how you all are feeling about it. So I'll be right back in just 3 minutes, and we'll continue on. All right, I'm back. Let's see what we got going on here. So let's fix the boss scaling before I do anything with the tutorial. I actually think I need to be in seated run. Generate combat encounter. Generate boss encounters. Here we go. So I think this is wrong. We don't need this score per upgrade anymore, I don't think. So let's get rid of that. Increment tier, I don't think this is used anywhere. No, we can get rid of that. Get rid of this. Difficulty tier, what does this do? I don't think it really does anything, so whatever. Does this, it's required, okay. Whatever, is boss equals true, notoriety region equals I, target difficulty score equals bias score. So what is this gonna do? Base boss score, so this is gonna be, let's see, 750 plus boss tier times additional, so it's going up by 750 every time. And the scores are just heuristics, they're not, 750 doesn't really mean anything. It just generally means that this is going to be more difficult than usual. I'm going to replace this. Okay, so let's go here, project settings. I also should allow inspecting the boss board, I think. Let's see, debug, suppress tutorial. Debug fog reveal radius, let's do 300. Oops. Where is this board inspector used? Map container on a map node alternate clicked. If map node dot event type is not equal to map type combat, or map node dot node event type is not equal to event type dot stronghold. This should be and. Get combat configuration for node. Okay, that should allow me to inspect boss boards, I think. Are you going to add translations? I'm asking because I'm wondering why you were adding the description as text and not as the localized ID. Yeah, translations are something I've not decided upon yet. I'm kind of surprised that that worked just right out of the gate. But welcome back to the stream, Mr. Pecanthul. I think you've been here before. Okay. So that's our initial boss board. Oh, why is it not? It's not indicating the boss there, which is interesting in the tooltip there. And it only has 100. Oh yeah, that's not right. Oh, it's probably not using the right combat configuration. That's why. So I have to modify that tooltip. Yeah, that's just not even close to right. But anyway, this now has 402 health compared to this, which has 320. So that's quite a bit of health. Blood reward. Okay, and then we can go to the last one up here. That has 569 health. So this is probably, because this has 571, so I don't know if the bosses are scaling hard enough, but this is all balanced stuff that we can figure out later on, I suppose. But the important thing is now those bosses are scaling properly. Hello, Moneybags, welcome. Proper dev suspicious when something works first time, yeah. Hello, the Spider-Man. Seems the inspector isn't taking into account consideration projections. I think it should be. Let's see. So yeah, the problem is that this is just over 20 turns. And the problem is that this has a 23 turn cooldown. So it's actually not accounting for anything that the boss is doing. Because it's a limited window. So I can increase that. Increase board inspector turn window. So this, yeah, this is like, what this is doing is this is actually just doing the entire combat under the hood instantly. And it's collecting all that data and then formatting it very nicely. So it basically is, I mean, it's not basically, it is the same exact code that gets run when you actually enter a combat encounter. So if abilities are not showing up here, it's because they didn't execute over 20 turns for whatever reason. Yeah, so I did a while ago, I inflated all the turn numbers for everything. So previously I calculated out the average turn duration was 9 for all items in the game. And now the average is like 14 or 15. And so what I was doing is I just inflated the turn numbers because that gives me more room to like create more variety in how long things take. Because if everything has an average of 9, then like going down by 1 or 2 turns is like a huge boost. Compared to like if the average is 15, then going down by 1 or 2 is not that big of a boost in comparison, right? So it just gives me more opportunities to more finely control how powerful something is with respect to its turn cooldown. So yeah, but you know, that's a change that I'm not sure about, but we'll see. We will see. Okay, and then let's also do this. Stronghold tooltips are not showing boss configuration. So we'll write that down. But anyway, the boss scaling is now fixed. What tool is that you're using to organize your tasks? It's Obsidian with the Kanban community plugin. It's, yeah, so it's not VS Code, it's the Obsidian app. It's a different app. But, okay, so let's take a look now. Let's do ignore save file, and let's also not suppress the tutorial. We might have to add an extra tutorial step in here. I'm all for a 15 turn average. Hard to imagine fights running that slow. Yeah. Yeah, so that was part of an effort to like reduce the burstiness. Of course, the turns The turns don't have a unit of time associated with them, so the turns are just kind of like a meaningless number. But I think the main point is what I said, which is, you know, giving me more control over like how powerful something is with its turns. Because like I said, a 14 versus a 15 turn is not going to be that different. But like proportionally going from, you know, 10 to 9 is a much bigger improvement. You know what I mean? Obsidian app. Sorry, I'm hard of hearing, so I want to make sure I heard it correctly. Yep, that's right. Yeah, Obsidian. Obsidian, it's a markdown, like a local markdown note thing. I think the main appeal of it is that all of the files, all of your notes are stored locally. So there's no like cloud service backing, which is very nice. So I think my tutorial largely still works. And I also updated these speed controls to account for the longer turn. So actually the base turn speed is a little bit faster. And then these scalings have changed as well. So 3x speed instead of 2x speed. I'm just used to running cards that average like 4 turn cooldowns, mashing the enemy into dust before they could even think of doing something. Yeah. Okay, thank you. I'll take a look. Yeah, for sure. You're welcome. I do like this in-game tutorial a lot better. So I put some items there. Okay. I think we can say the tutorial still works. I may need to add some more states, but that tutorial is fine. Figure out what to do with patrol flags. I think I know what I want to do with that, so that can just be done. I'll put this in a backlog. Use patrol flags as elite encounters. This will be content. We'll just slap that in there. All right. I like the little finger pointing. Yeah, me too. I think he's a little bit cute. Hello, Rookie Tookie. Welcome back. Good to see you. Okay, so the map prototype is done. Oh, goodness gracious. Let's just move this to list. Done. There we go. We're going to delete this one because that's not useful anymore. Let's fix this one. Stronghold tooltips are not showing boss configuration. Set combat configuration. Else if node.node event type is equal to event type.stronghold. This is going to be boss configuration. Okay, that should fix that. So now if I go here, Mayor Albrecht, there we go. The guy just flies around. Go away. Okay, anyway. So this is correct now. Mayor Albrecht, Field Mouse, Potato Windmill Fox. And the health is correct. The blood reward is correct now. Okay. Alrighty, so that one's in place. So we can mark that as a bug. Done. Update wench description. Increase necrosis threshold. Let's do, I want to get into a little play test here, but I want to fix these things that came up from my play test last night. This is 80. Let's do 120 maybe. Okay. So that's done. Increase board inspector turn window. Let's do this. Int turns. Board inspector, let's do private const int turn window. We'll do 30. And we'll do turn window. Okay. All right, so now if I go up here, yeah, applied 4 fire, 12 preserve. That's being handled because of these things. Perfect. Oh, and that still says over 20 turns. That's fine, I'll just update that. We'll just make this public, why not? Okay, so now if I ever need to change that number again, it will just be reflected everywhere. That's probably better. Damage over 30 turns, status over 30 turns, perfect. Okay. Cool. Increase board inspector turn window. That's done. We do need to rework the honey reagent because it doesn't do anything. We might as well just update this wench description as well. Okay. I should have probably done some of this stuff on the master branch, but I'm pretty sure we're going to stick with this new map approach because it's feeling pretty good. But anyway, all right, let's do some stuff here. Let's get this all set up. We're going to do suppress tutorial. Let's get rid of ignore save file, get rid of ignore unlocks, enable test player artifacts off. Mute music, don't skip menu. Okay, we're going to set up an actual test here. We might as well not suppress the tutorial. Okay, and then I'm going to delete my save files so we don't get that corrupted. And we're going to give this a play, and I'll just talk through. You can watch how the game is going to play out with all the new changes, and we'll see how that works. But first, let me turn off the background music. Okay, background music is off, and I need to go to my desktop audio. Let's turn off We'll turn the gain up a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and launch the game. All right, so you should be able to hear the game now. And then we'll just go into the settings here. Settings, let's turn off the tutorial. Let's turn on full screen. Save. Okay, let's go ahead and do a test here. Finger pointing is really cute. Any recommendations on minimum font size? My game is 640 by 360 and I'm trying to figure out what I should use as the smallest font to use. Well, I'm on that same resolution, 640 by 360. And the font size that you see here is 9 pixels. So I think 9 pixels is like 8 or 9 pixels for me is like the sweet spot because it's still very readable. The problem is when you start to get into the lower size fonts, like some of the glyphs are hard to read. So I generally find that like around 8 to 9 pixels is like a sweet spot between readability but also taking up the least amount of space on screen. Okay, let's start. Start with the Necromancer and go on. Okay. There's a grow board right off the rip there. Let's go. It may take a bit of work, but some abilities could be reworked to add their downside as a negative ability. Then honey could remove the downsides of abilities. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. This has a lot of empty ability slots, my goodness. Looks like we're going to be trying to get... Actually, maybe I'll just do this kind of alchemy right off the bat here. Yep, 3 damage per allied minion item. Perfect. We'll do an upgrade. We might as well throw this guy into the upgrade as well. Perfect. So this is going to do 9 damage right there. Get the grow board going automatically. Okay, we're actually pretty set here. We'll just take... Actually, let's take the bigger health upgrade. I don't have any money left now, but that's okay. So I could get more money going this way, but I kind of want the enchant. Hell yeah. Corvid. Echo if the board contains multiple Corvids. Absorbs up to 2 random abilities from enemy items. Projects the ritual tag to adjacent allied items. That's always a fun one to have. I like the Acolyte a lot. Do I do enchant? Or get some more blood? Just making sure I can't click anything I'm not supposed to click. Let's do the enchant. Swarm, deal 3 damage, increase critical multiplier, adds the weapon tag. I can't really make use of that, but let's just throw a swarm on this guy. Let's see if we can set this guy up. I'm still not happy with how the board unlocks are working. I want to think about how to make that work as well. Take that guy and then unlock this and place that there. Okay. That should work pretty good. Oh, I can go... That's an item upgrade tier 1. Let's go to the item upgrade, actually. I need minion cards. Another acolyte. Scarab and mausoleum key. I don't think there's anything I can really do here yet. How much money do I have? I have none. Okay, so the shop is going to be useless for me. That's okay. I think the ancient coins are buffing themselves. That's kind of interesting. 14 preserve damage. Deal damage equal to preserve damage dealt by this item since last execution. Grab that. I noticed you added some animation to the artifact node, moving liquid. Are nodes getting animations in the future? Artifact node, do you mean the alchemy? I don't think I visited an artifact node. I'm not trying to be pedantic, I just don't know which event you were talking about specifically. I'd like to see the enchantment node wiggle when nearby. Oh yeah, that could work. What is this node attribute? Seems like something custom. Found some discussion on Godot GitHub about get node attribute, but not sure if that's the same. PS love how you're working with code. Yeah, I have my Godot utilities library is where that comes from. So if you look up Godot utilities on NuGet, you'll see firebelly.godot utilities. And that will come with source generators, additional source generators that allow you to basically wire up your members with references to nodes automatically based on the member name. So that's all in the README of the GitHub repository, so you can go there and check it out. There's also a bunch of other nice source generated methods as well as a bunch of extension methods and stuff that can be useful. So actually, did I put the rand... Let's see. Yeah, so here. So for example, the weird thing about Godot's C# implementation of the random number generator is that the seeds and the state are in unsigned long values, but there's no way with the traditional Godot API of getting a random unsigned long value. So I have extension methods in the Godot utilities, one extension method anyway, on the random number generator, for example, that gets you a random unsigned long, and that's just taking two random integers and then bitwise ORing them together. So things like that, like little helper methods, little extensions to augment the capabilities that you have with respect to working with Godot objects, all that is in that utilities library. Oh, the vase on the map seems to have moving liquid inside. Oh, yeah. That's probably just a lighting effect. So if you'll notice, it's hard to tell, but there's like a little light radius. So you see how every node here is darker out here? There's an animated light texture that's pretty large that brightens everything up. But if the light happens to fall on the edge of a node, like up here, you could see how it's like flickering in the top right. I don't know if you can see that. That's just the boundary of the light affecting that. So maybe there's an opportunity to do something like that, like make that more explicit, I guess. But yeah, that's what that is. Great, thanks. We'll check it out right away. Sounds good. It's totally free, MIT license, so don't say I didn't do nothing for you. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I made those Godot utilities mostly for myself and decided, well, might as well publish it so other people can use it as well. Okay, anyway, I need blood. I need blood real bad, but I kind of want the reagents here. Let's see. We'll take the free health upgrade. Oh, are you serious? All revealed nodes will be hidden by fog of war. I actually don't think that's a bad thing anymore, so I probably have to rework that. Okay, let's see. Grab this. Adds the following. Converts preserve applied to fire. Ooh. Ooh. Stripped legendary status. Wait, what am I doing? Okay, let's get rid of this acolyte. And an eyeball. So I changed the eyeball. This used to work based on Inquisition strength, but now it works based on your current blood. So reduce turn cooldown by 3 if your current blood is 10 or greater. Deal 8 damage if your current blood is 20 or greater. Critical chance increased by 50% if your current blood is 40 or greater. I'm going to put this in with... What was I saying? With the dragon scales, I think. Converts preserve applied to fire. Awesome. Might need to change the turn, change turn intervals of status procs. Fire, poison. I think that's the only ones. So I didn't increase the intervals of those status effects in accordance with the general turn inflation that I turned up, so I think that might need to be done. Reduces remaining turns of one random allied minion item on the bottom edge of the board by 11. Oh. Oh. What? Okay, that might be a little bit too strong. That's probably too strong. So I'm not going to take that one because if I use that, I would get a 1-turn cooldown Skeleton Warrior, and I don't feel like making this run just a stomp because I'm trying to evaluate like how difficult it is, and if I make it super easy for myself, that's not going to work. I already have one of these. 3 damage for each time damage was taken since last execution. Paralyze each item that dealt damage to the current board since last execution for 3 turns. Ah. Should I take a risk? I want the relic tag projection to be replaced, but this is kind of risky. Let's see what happens. Okay, I think that's fine. Although, wait a minute, this slime converts preserve applied to fire. Oh, it doesn't have any preserve on it, though. This does more damage, though. This doesn't do preserve either, so maybe it's just kind of a wash. I'll take this one. And then unlock that, place that there. Oh, but that's good, because that counts as a minion now. So the Skeleton Warrior will be back to doing more damage. Okay, good. Good, good, good. Generous Belly. Reagent idea, Mystery Juice. Juice has a random effect that is not known until alchemized. The chosen random effect will be the same throughout the run. Ooh, that's a good one. I need to create a new... Actually, you know what I would do here? I have kind of a cool idea. I could just get the list of all of the abilities that exist in the game and just pull one random ability from one random card. And that could include enemy cards as well, or enemy items. So what I would probably do is I would just take the list of all available items, randomly instantiate one, and then randomly grab an ability from it, and that could be the mystery juice. So the mystery juice becomes a kind of like, of all the abilities in the game, just add a random one. I think that would be really, really cool. I need to start using the item language. Now the tricky part is like the dowsing rod, for example, doesn't have any abilities, so it'd feel kind of bad if the mystery juice chose the dowsing rod and then did nothing. Can you explain how the board size increase works? From a gameplay perspective or from a technical perspective? Ooh, let's take this one. Yeah, I'm feeling still restricted in terms of being able to get my board spaces unlocked. Don't forget to write down to hide the ability from the player until alchemized. Yeah, I think that's fine. I'm not going to forget that because the reagent isn't going to show you which ability it has up front. And so it's only going to do that whole randomization process once it gets consumed during the alchemy process. So it will just naturally be hidden because I'm not going to actually choose the ability until you put it into the alchemy, you know what I mean? Gameplay, like how did the player increase the size? So the board size increases when you visit these board size nodes, which there is none, but you can increase it by one row or one column at a time if you get that board size increase event, but then you have to unlock the cells with alchemical residue, which again, I'm not entirely sold on. What I may do is I may just remove the locked cell system. I might do that actually. So I start the player off with a 4x4 board, but all of the cells along the edges, along the perimeter, are locked. And that was just, so part, like when the game first started doing playtests, the board was 2x2. And the only way to increase your board size was to find a grow board event. And the playtesters, many of you, said that that was too restricted, that it felt really bad to be at the mercy of RNG to receive your board size increases, because your board size is like directly related to your power level, right? So I said, well, okay, we can go middle ground, right? We can make the board larger to start, but then require you to unlock these things. And that was to solve the board space problem, but also it was an attempt to make the player forced to use alchemy in a lot of ways. But now that the ability system has changed, and now that the map system has changed, I don't think that the lock system, this lock cell system, is working very well anymore. So what I may do is I may just give the player a 4x4 unlocked board at the very beginning, and then make the remaining board size increases subject to whether you can find a board size increase, or alternatively, you know, there could be certain guaranteed ways of increasing your board size. So yeah, this is a system that I'm not happy with right now. I don't think it's working well. I'm feeling like, look at all these cards I can't use, you know what I mean? Like, I would love to throw some of these cards on the board, but I just don't have any opportunities to do that because of the lock system. So I don't think that's working at all right now. So that's going to probably be the next major system that I overhaul. And overhaul is a strong word. I mean, it's just a matter of like deleting that code and then figuring out where the player gets their board size increases from. Mystery Juice sounds like it could be really strong, so I think having absolute duds sometimes is fine. You could change the dowsing rod to make it It's 50% crit chance and ability. My original argument for leaving the rod as it wasn't valid anymore anyway. Yeah, we could do that. That's actually a good middle ground. And I think that fixes another problem too, which is it looks really weird to get the dowsing rod and then like this ability section is empty. So yeah, I think that's a good point. I think we can do that for sure. Hello, Alex Galaxynarium. You link in Steam page. Got the wrong studio. I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean, but welcome back to the stream. Are all the abilities just Godot resources? I saw you have some custom class called Ability Builder. Would you mind walking through that real quick? Yeah, I can do like a very, very high level overview. So all of my abilities are pure C# classes. So let's take a look at one of these cards, for example, Slime. Let's just look at the Slime here. So the Slime, so everything is fundamentally, so there's multiple tiers to the ability system. There are base card abilities, and basically every ability inherits base card ability. So base card ability is inherited by base composed ability, which is inherited by composed ability. Okay. The fundamental building block of the ability system is those base card abilities. And those base card abilities all do something different. So, for example, well, let's just look at, I don't know, let's look at something simple. So damage. So damage, this damage is a base card ability, and all that it's responsible for doing is dealing some amount of damage based on the magnitude. And all of the base card abilities are like this, like they're very narrow blocks of functionality. And what the composed ability is, up here, is this is a configuration of multiple of those base card abilities working together. So this damage taken provider is a base card ability, this damage magnitude ability is base card ability, and I put that in the abilities list. But what this composed ability serves as is this serves as a bundling of base card ability functionality. And then this is like this composed ability, this is the unit that gets mixed around during alchemy. So when I say I'm going to mix abilities from multiple cards, it's taking those bundled abilities as a unit and putting them on cards so that the functionality remains the same. All of this list of base card abilities remains the same. And then that block of functionality represented by the composed ability is the thing being passed around. The ability builder, this is just a helpful way of constructing the basic abilities that I'm using in multiple places, right? So if I just need a simple damage ability, I can do ability builder.damage, and that just constructs that composed ability object with the default damage configuration, basically. So the ability builder is just a set of like helper functions that I can use to create specific types of abilities. But when I need abilities that are like bespoke, that are unique to a card, I just write those in line here. So anyway, that's a very, very, very top level overview. He's saying the link of the game Steam page links to the wrong dev and publisher. I'll have to investigate that. Super cool, thanks, you're welcome. Yeah, I would like to do more of a deep dive onto that system in like a long form YouTube video, because I think maybe there's some interesting things to say about it. Okay, so I've got some alchemy potential here. I would love a deep dive on that. Okay, yeah, I'll probably do that either when we get closer to release or after release. We'll see. The other problem with the alchemy system right now is there's not really an incentive to do multiple cards at once. Is it possible for me to get more residue here? Ooh. Oh, I also have to figure out what to do with legendary abilities. Or legendary items. Deals true damage equal to poison damage dealt since last execution. I think that's a little bit unclear. Sorry, I'm just taking notes so I don't forget. Okay, I'll have to look at that. May I ask how much code you reuse between all of your games, or are you typically building from the ground up every time? Yeah, I don't basically... Any code that I would reuse between my projects is in my Godot utilities library. Seems like Alchemorphs is the only game affected by that, though. I missed the stream where cards become items. What happened? It's just a verbiage change. Basically, cards implies that it's a collectible card game where you play cards, you know, like you would in like Slay the Spire or something, but... It's more about item inventory management, right? So it's just a wording change. They're the same thing, nothing functionally changed. The empty ability slot text kind of confused me because I thought your card had tons of abilities. Making it one color darker could help with precedence. Yeah, I could do that. We might be able to just test that now, actually. No, actually, it's not gonna... I'm gonna have to do some code for that. Well, let's just take this guy. I'm just going to alchemize this again because I'm trying to get... Oh, that's actually pretty good. Keep that. I'm trying to get this cell unlocked so I can do this now. Okay, let's go for an enchant now. Event idea, Necropolis. Entering the Necropolis will trigger a random event type to be used, but at a very high tier level. So combat is more difficult, upgrades are better, shops have rare items. Gotcha, yeah, that's cool. Could be a fast travel system. Necropolises are cool. Increases critical multiplier by 0.5x. Okay, we're almost to the boss. Let's see how I do. I have 105 health, though. I may want to slow down those health upgrades as well. Projects to allied items on the right edge of the board echo. Ooh. We're going to want that. So I think the music may be bugged here. Maybe not. We'll see if the music is bugged. Oh, I'm in trouble. Never mind. Soul of Mayor Albrecht. Nice. Ooh, I have an idea. Heal and fire, that works. All right, let's start. Oh, I can do this. Now this has the legendary ability. Oh, can I put that onto... Actually, might as well just slap that on the board right now. That does not count as a minion, though. That's all right. Ooh, artifact time. Hello, Cutie Pie. Welcome. Fire takes 1 turn longer to execute, but executes 1 additional time. Cards consumed by alchemy grant 1 additional alchemical residue. Let's take the Cauldron Scrub Brush, why not? I'm just gonna do this. Well, I need more cards, actually. Well, we can only go one direction, so we'll go this way. Oh, I'm in trouble. Oof. Okay. I'm just going to alchemize these. Yeah, I don't really like this system for unlocking the board anymore. But let's just alchemize these together. I recently started working on my personal project, and your video about composition really helped me. Thanks. Yeah, you're welcome. Glad to hear that. Okay, here we go. Projects to adjacent items. Well, it's only going to affect the skeleton. That's okay. But for all of you who are watching right now, how are you feeling about this new map flow? Like just watching me play. What are you guys thinking? Anyone have any thoughts? Just take... Oh, we can take all of these. I forgot. Hope the progress is going good today. I think it is. Welcome, X-Jokes. Good to see you. Feels a lot more intentional. Oh, I can't. Six true damage. I wonder if that works with... Oh, that's fine. Let's just skip. We'll take the money. Make every node give the player XP, then give them more board space when leveling up. The problem is you don't really have that much control over the amount of nodes that you can visit because it's dependent on a path that you choose. There already is an incentive for choosing longer paths, which is that you get more power. And so just like compounding that by saying the more nodes you visit, the more XP you get. I don't know if that would be super good. Seems good so far. Glad you like it. I like it, but sometimes you should have no choice but to go into battle. Yeah, I mean, there are situations like that. Like if I go to this Grow Board event, the only place I can go is to combat. But maybe I just need to reinforce that. Maybe I need to make that more common. I actually don't even know if I want that board size increase. Upgrade tier 3. That goes to another upgrade. Oh, but that goes to a shop too. Maybe we'll go this way. Crossroads looks sick. Oh! Oh, I am very close to dying here. This is not good. What changed about the map? I see there's a line now, so I'm guessing it's forcing you to go forward. Yeah, so the map is now a directed graph instead of a free roam. So you can only move upward. Typically speaking, there is an item in the game now that allows you to backtrack, but the other thing that's kind of a problem is I'm not getting very many artifacts. I think I need to make artifact nodes more common. So let me see. Make combats more frequent / blocking events. Let's just call this content, and then artifact nodes need to be more frequent. So I've got a lot of stuff to do here. If a path has a node on the exact same Y card, does the game explode? Oh, Y coord. No, it does not. I can't remember I can't remember how that works, but it accounts for that situation. So it's either that if they're on the same Y, you can't visit it, and if they're not on the same Y, then you can. I feel like this puts the right pressure on the player to choose the path more wisely and makes moving less arbitrary, which is nice. Also looks very cool. Thank you, Bolter. So it seems like the response to this change is generally positive, which is good. I mean, just me playing it right now, I am feeling like my movement is a lot more meaningful. And I think that can be reinforced with some tweaks to the map generation and whatnot. Let's see. Increase board size. That doesn't count as a minion. All allied alchemical cards gain 4 heal. Well, none of these are useful, so let's just do the board size increase, I guess. Are there any plans for health carryover, or is starting each combat at full health going to stay? That's going to stay. I think I will eventually introduce a character where the health does not carry over, and so that would have to be like a healing-focused character, where basically you don't regenerate health at all, so your ability to stay fully topped off is going to be entirely dependent on your healing items that you have. Oh. I actually thought the frequency of combat was pretty good at this point. Okay. Yeah, I think maybe I'll just leave that one. I'll reword that one. Examine whether combats... So I'll just put that as a question mark. Any thoughts on something like FTL's mechanic where there are foes approaching from behind, encouraging you to take more direct, riskier pass lest they catch up and force you into fights? Yeah, I mean, I thought about that. That's been brought up before. That's just, I don't know, that's just something I'm not interested in doing, really. Because that requires the addition of a whole new mechanic and like different incentives and disincentives for fighting and not fighting. And I'm just trying to keep this, I'm trying to streamline this game down into a very distilled experience, like just cutting all the stuff that is just kind of like not really adding to the core experience of the game. So I'm not sure like if that system would add much versus this system, which is basically, oh, you just can't go backwards, right? You may have to go to F2 way if you want to keep the open map when heading character. Yeah. That's what I was talking about yesterday, is like if I wanted to keep the open map, it was going to require a ton of like additional mechanics and content to make it work. And it would have been cool, like don't get me wrong, I still think like if I could have nailed the open exploration, that would have been a very interesting, unique point about the game. But the core of the game is about building out your strategies. It's not about exploration, right? So just trying to focus in on that instead of other things. Could have a boss ability like wounding and bleed that the character carries over damage for a time. Oh, that could work, yeah. I need to start alchemizing some stuff. This has an empty ability slot on it. Dang it. That doesn't help me. This is a minion that would scale off of this. I need like a swarm card or something. I'm gonna alchemize the eyeball with the skeleton mage. Oh, that works. So I have 8, so I can unlock 2 cells. Forcing forward does make decisions more important and impactful, so I like this. I'm still interested to see how far you could take the other map navigation, though, maybe as a later game mode. Yeah, maybe. But we'll focus on this for now. All right. Turn cooldown is reduced by 1. What? Oh, it's only enchant 2? We'll just put the turn cooldown on the sword there. Ooh. I don't have any empty ability slots though, so I don't know if I want to risk. I don't know if I want to risk that. Okay, well, we'll hold on to that for now. All right, we got some damage buffs now. 6 preserve plus 1 additional preserve to an adjacent minion. We'll take that. I want to see if I can get a gemstone reagent. I don't know why this isn't. Give me a gemstone. Oh, gemstone. Okay. Okay. Let's get rid of this. I have an idea for this. Do I have an idea for this? Oh, yes. Okay. Gemstone here. Add the ability slot to the mausoleum key. Let's get rid of the Viper. We have the dragon scales now. So we take the mausoleum key and we add the converts preserve applied to fire. Okay, so now this is gonna, for each time damage was taken, so this is gonna apply massive amounts of fire. So I need to put this next to a minion now. I could put that here and get the projection benefit from that. There we go. Check that out. Heck yeah. Oh, the honey is useless, so I'm just gonna sell that. Hello, Clickertail, welcome back. Yeah, thinking about it, FTL's mechanic doesn't make a lot of sense if you don't want damage to carry over because FTL's entire thing is managing attrition. Right, yeah. Oh, we can have Echo now? That's a very powerful skeleton, actually. Oh, it wasn't enough, though. It wasn't enough. Well, I guess let's just see. Ooh. These tiers are upgrading very fast for these cards. That may not be a problem, but maybe I will want to examine that a little bit. I think these are ramping up a little bit too quickly here, but that's okay. Heal 8. Put this here. Item upgrade. Put this skeleton warrior in there. I don't think I'm gonna win this. Ooh, I won. Adds the following ability to allied items. Innate heal 10. Do I have any empty ability slots? I don't. Been in the hostile enemy zone is not bad. Is bad not just because they're strong, but because you will take unnecessary chip damage, right? What all can you do with alchemy? Is the only items plus reagent? Can you do 2 items? Yeah. So the way the alchemy system works is that if an item has an empty ability slot, like this snail cat here, and you put another item in the board with it, like this guy, what it will do is it will, among all of the other inputs, it will choose one ability from, or 1 to 2 abilities from that card, and it will add it to the empty ability slots. If a card is full, meaning it has no empty ability slots, then it will randomize 1 to 2 of the abilities. So you basically have a predictable alchemy where it's always going to retain the abilities that it has as long as it has empty ability slots. So new abilities are going to be filled in here. But when it's full, it starts randomizing the abilities that it has. And then the reagents are just a way of controlling the alchemy a little bit more to get the result that you want. And now I'm dying all of a sudden. I don't think I'm gonna win now. So there's some balance stuff that needs to be worked on, I think. Let's see. Yeah, I'm probably not going to win. So there was a big difficulty spike there. So anyway, I think, yeah, there are still problems here, but I think this is working pretty well. And now I have to start sacrificing my own cards to get back up. So anyway, yeah, I don't know. I think there are still some things to do here, but I think generally it's feeling pretty good. There are still some balance and pacing issues. And also, I still feel like the board, yeah, I'm still kind of too restricted with the board space, so I need to figure that out as well. But I'm gonna end the stream there because I'm very hungry. And I don't think I'm going to be able to make it to the boss anyway. So there's a big difficulty spike after the second boss. And yeah, it just generally feels a little bit uneven in some places. But I think we're getting there. I think it's shaping up. I like the new map system. I think it's working pretty well. So I'm happy with that. But yeah, I think that'll be it for the stream for now. I might stream later today, but we'll see. But you can join the Discord to be notified when I go live. Otherwise, it'll be tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. But yeah, thank you all for your support. I'm glad that, you all seem to be enjoying the new map system. So I'm going to try to get to a state where we can do a public play test of this sooner rather than later. And then we can hopefully get some validation on all that stuff. But yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Deleteful. Thank you, RN Genesis. But yeah, you can wishlist Alchemortis on Steam. The other ways you could support me are also linked below, so check those out if you're interested. And join the Discord again to be notified when I go live again. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. And thank you for all the support, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye-bye.